morning broadcast, as we will be travelling around England to bring you each and every single moment of the Rugby World Cup. And this is how we're getting around England in our travelling studio. It's good to be in your company once again, and also good because the tournament has finally gotten underway. It was quite amazing to see Brighton, because Brighton really has been very quiet in the week building up to the Rugby World Cup. And then prior to the opening ceremony, we had some rain last night, so there were lots of activities out here on the seafront, but then everybody kind of disappeared, and we thought, goodness gracious, if the rain continues, then we're not going to have anybody at the fan festival. And they were expecting around 10,000 people on what is the only beach fan festival for the Rugby World Cup. But Mother Nature played along, and when the opening ceremony did get underway, the weather guards kept the rain at bay, and it kept it at bay for the opening ceremony as well as the opening match. And Brighton came alive. It was amazing to see. I don't think they quite got 10,000 through to this fan festival, but there was a decent number of, I would say, around 5,000 people that came out to support the game. And last night when we broadcast to Sports Alive, everybody was just getting really excited. Our presenter, Mac Messina, who himself is a former professional player, actually got the opportunity to chat to a couple of the very excited fans, and that's what's great to see the vibe really picking up here in Brighton. It all gets underway for the Springboks in Brighton later today, and the Springboks play Japan. It's one of only two fixtures that's going to be taking place at the Brighton Community Centre. But as we said, it all got underway last night, so let's recap what happened. The hosts, England, beating Fiji 35-11. Their coach, Stuart Lancaster, saying that he thanked Fiji for a very good game, but they were just so pleased because it was a bonus point victory and something that will prove quite crucial in a very, very difficult group. It was played out at a capacity Twickenham Stadium, and that followed an opening ceremony. Now, one of the local commentators of the Telegraph actually said that the opening ceremony, it was short, it was sweet, and it was a decent start. Following an artistic re-impersonation of the roots of the game, British Royal Prince Harry, who is the honorary president of England 2015, welcomed the world to the 8th Rugby World Cup. When the match did begin, England accelerated to a 15-0 lead, courtesy of an early George Ford penalty, a penalty try from a rolling Moore, and a Mike Brown score. Brown was crucial in the match as he scored 2 tries and scooped man of the match for his massive efforts. Fiji's only try came from giant left winger Nemani Ndolo. English replacement number 8, Billy Vunipolo's stoppage time score was England's 4th try and gave them 5 points in the standings. With the potential for Australia, Wales and England to beat each other in a tough Pool A, a bonus point could prove key in deciding progress to the quarterfinals and the journey to the Webb Ellis Cup. All right, so that's what happened last night. And as we look ahead to the most important fixture for so many South Africans, South Africa's Rugby World Cup opener against Japan, it's one of 4 Rugby World Cup fixtures that's going to be taking place. Now, they had the captain's run yesterday, Jean de Villiers, who is going to be setting a record of his own as he leads the team out later today. De Villiers he's going to be leading the Springboks out for the 36th time. He's equaling Gary Teichmann as the 2nd most capped Springbok captain. And de Villiers said that they've seen some of Japan's weaknesses in the video matches that they've watched, because these two teams actually haven't met one another at an international test level. So de Villiers saying that they have seen a couple of Japan's weaknesses and they're hoping to expose those. Yanni du Plessis, however, says that they're looking out for the scrum, because as much as Japan are worried about the physical aspect that the Springboks are going to bring to the game, South Africa are concerned because they're much smaller forwards than what the South Africans are used to playing.
Well, the Japanese pack is, I mean, the front row is a bit shorter in length-wise, and they really are, I think they're stocky and strong. So if you look at the law of physics, I think they probably can go lower than us. So it's a massive challenge for us. And also, I mean, guys like Fourie and Skalk and Bismarck was there last year with when the Springboks visited Essex, and they said exactly the same thing. So they go very, very low, and again, I mean, the lower you get, the more effective your scrum is. So, I mean, like I said, I think the Japanese have a very efficient, very good back, and it's going to be a big challenge for us. So I think the challenge for us is to try and meet them at their height and still be effective ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
But the pitch conditions, I think it's a brilliant pitch. It's a beautiful stadium. It is a little bit wet underfoot, especially in the part where the shadow of the stadium is. But from my point of view, I think it's a good pitch, and I think we can expect a good flowing game and scrums and set pieces.
All right, so that's what Yanni du Plessis had to say ahead of their match against Japan. That's going to be taking place at the Brighton Community Centre. Now, as the team opened up the actual show, they said that, you know, they think that the score is going to be around 80-20. Well, I want to give you a little stat. Japan are on the wrong end of an all-time Rugby World Cup record. The All Blacks beat the Japanese in 1995, and this is the most points that's ever been scored in a Rugby World Cup match, and this stands currently still on the all-time list. The All Blacks beat Japan by 145 to 17. That was way back in 1995, and the next World Cup hosts in 2019 have really come a very long way, but many say that it is a rugby mismatch in international terms. Let's take a look at the fixtures that will be taking place today. Of course, South Africa up against Japan. There's 3 others though as well in the other pool, so let's take a look. In Pool B, the big one, South Africa up against Japan. Japan have only recorded 1 win in the Rugby World Cup, and that was a 52-8 victory over Zimbabwe on the 14th of October in 1991. Pool C will see Tonga go up against Georgia in a battle of the minnows. And then Pool D will see a massive one, France up against Italy, and Ireland facing off with Canada. Now, the interesting thing about the Canadian-Irish matchup is not only that Ireland have been in superb form and many banking them as dark horses to actually win this Rugby World Cup, but there is a South African connection in both of the teams. In Ireland, there is the Irish hooker Richard Strauss. He is the cousin of Adrian Strauss. He's ex-Free State, and he joined Leinster in 2009. He made his Ireland debut in 2012. He's currently got 10 test caps. And from Canada, their wing is DTH Fanamabe. He's a 29-year-old who was born in Worcester in the Western Cape. So that's the South African connection in that match, Ireland up against Canada. So it all started last night with England up against Fiji, but the Rugby World Cup action continues today with those 4 fixtures. So South Africa up against Japan. We've heard what so many South African supporters, both here in England as well as at home, had to say to get behind the box. But what have the Japanese supporters got to say? We found out.
Japan will win.
Japan will play well.
Japan going to play good match.
South Africa again.
Japan team is quite strong.
Come on, Japan! Japan will beat South Africa.
Japan is the best.
Japan is the best.
Japan is gonna beat South Africa! Yeah!
Some fans will go to extraordinary measures to get behind their team, much like a South African pair that drove. Yes, they drove all the way from the Western Cape up to England. It was quite amazing because they had 2 vehicles that they actually did the journey in, and across Africa and across the continent of Europe, they had a total of just 1 puncture. I got the opportunity to speak to them yesterday.
Just to do Cape to Cairo, and then somebody said, well, let's do Eastern Europe as well, and then somebody said, well, let's go to the Rugby World Cup. Don't just stop there. Here we are, 100 days later, we've actually made it. And sometimes I wonder how we actually managed it, but we are. So.
But I think the thing that really got us was the heat. When we reached Sudan, we had temperatures of 55 degrees, and my air conditioner in the vehicle that I was in decided to then pack up. So that was pretty tough. But it was a great trip all in all.
And now we're just here to look forward to see the Springboks win the World Cup.
I mean, after all that travelling, I think that they certainly they're indebted to you guys.
Yeah, I think we deserve it from them.
And after a journey like that, one can expect that they've got so many stories to tell, and they're hoping to actually put it into a book. One is going to be writing a book, Cape to Cairo, a continent under construction, looking at not only the roads that they travel, but also the finances of actually undertaking a journey like that. They said that their initial budget was R500,000 to go on that journey. They said, though, that they may exceed that. Murray Tonathy, the other gentleman that you saw on that clip speaking, he was the second gentleman after Janse van Rensburg. He said that he's actually hoping to put together a cookbook, because he took recipes and tips from all of the countries that they cross in their journey to England, and he's hoping to compile it all into a cookbook. So really exciting things, and really dynamic South Africans, lots to be proud of, with so many stories to tell. Speaking of dynamic, in the little alleyways, the little twittons here in Brighton, you'll find many very interesting shops. Their oldest pub was established in the 16th century, but then they've got a very interesting store that was only opened 21 years ago, but it's probably one of the most famous stores here in Brighton. They recently opened a London store too. It's called Chocky Wocky Doodah. Chocky Wocky Doodah. Yes, that is a real shop name. There are surprises around every corner.
Chocolate just makes you happy, and if you're happy, then you can stay slim. But it's also really helpful if you wear black, which is slimming, and a bodysuit, which is underneath my shirt. We have, in the studio, we have our team of chocolatiers, and they have to do an in-house training for 3 years to be able to sort of get to the level that we require them to sort of make all the sculptures, all the flowers. So it's quite a hard and long sort of process, just like the same as doing a degree. But there's so many different techniques of chocolate, and chocolate is such a complicated medium that it takes quite a while to just get used to the fact that you're working with hands that are fully covered in chocolate. It takes our baker hours to bake the cakes, and then it takes somebody else a couple of hours to enrobe the cake in chocolate, and then the flowers take an incredible amount of time, and then the butterflies even longer, and so all in all you're looking at about 35 hours. When you're doing a design, you've got to sort of appreciate what is going to work in chocolate and what's not going to work in chocolate. Sometimes cakes sort of can shy away in the corner and look really embarrassed about themselves, and all of our cakes are very much like, hey, I'm your cake, come and eat me. We have made cakes for all sorts. We did cakes for Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. We did some in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. We also did some for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. We've also done cakes for Kylie Minogue and for Elton John and Whoopi Goldberg. So yeah, quite a few people have enjoyed our dense chocolate cake. Your visit has inspired me to create a rugby player cake. Just because you're so pretty, we can make a wonderful lunging for the rugby ball pose on a cake. So this will be all rugby themes momentarily.
The cake store that has made cakes for the likes of Sir Elton John, Johnny Depp, as well as a number of movies, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That store found here in Brighton, and they just recently opened a store out in London. That's how we conclude our live broadcast from our travelling studio here in Brighton. We look forward to chatting to you once again on Monday morning here on Morning Live. As a parting shot, as we look ahead to the Springboks playing Japan from the Brighton Community Centre later on today, you know that South Africa have never lost an opening game at the Rugby World Cup. Yeah, they've never lost a Rugby World Cup match. Their opening game, on average, they scored 44 points in their opening game. I wonder if it's going to be any bigger against Japan. We'll find out later on today at 6:45 South African time, local time. It is at 5:45 this evening. It's been great being in your company. I can see the sun is coming up and it's starting to look great. And for us, it's quite a relief because we've had a lot of rain here in Brighton. So we're looking forward to a nice, clear day, and also that will bode well for the Springboks. Do have a brilliant Saturday ahead. Wear your green and wear your gold. Go Bokke.